I got some good news for you XRP fans. You want to know what it is? Well, you're going to stick around. I'm not going to tell you right off the bat. We're also going to talk some BTC fears. Ooh, are bigs going to sell based on, again, I'm not going to tell you. You got to stick around. Jerome Powell's definitely missing things. Why? The ECB's got it right, but he doesn't. We'll talk price action along with...
I say lots of naughty things, so here's your warning.
Some U.S. politicians made some suspiciously timed trades right before the Israel-Iran action. Does that surprise you? Nah, probably shouldn't. We got that and more coming up next. But before we get into that, like the good XRP news that I got for you, your comments come first. Why? Well, because you're a viewer, and you kick massive ass. Pockets and out losses, well, all my buy orders failed. Pitiful dump. That's okay, because stuff is still low enough to scoop on sale, relatively speaking. Well, we might not be out of the woods just yet because the markets aren't completely clawing their ways back. Sean Allen says, nice to see silver closing above 36 bucks. Be nice if it's the new floor. That would be freaking awesome if silver's floor is $36. Reverend Funky, who hangs out with us from up north in Canada, says the U.S. has to change the laws surrounding the Fed. We're talking Jerome Powell. Way too much power for one person organization, but someone has to keep the government overspending from printing money into oblivion. It's a catch-22. Good movie, but shitty situation to be in. Very true, kind sir. Bitcoin sitting at 104,869. We got some softness. We're not rallying all the way back from where we were before. E2510 XP at 213. We're going to talk price and action in the end, along with some good news for XP fans. Actually, it's really good news, but you're going to have to stick around. Why? Well, first things first. Michael Saylor hanging out on the orange couch, flailing his arms around like a little bitch, saying, our business strategy, well done, is 100% Bitcoin. Okay, look, put it this way, okay? He's not going to ever say that any other crypto out there is a good thing. So for anyone there thinking, hey, he's going to work with Brad Garlinghouse, he's going to work with other cryptos, he's not. He is a BTC maxi through and through. It's BTC or bust. So, just sharing that with you. Why? Because he's a maxi. Why the Fed and the European Central Bank are no longer on the same page? Whoa. When was the last time they were on the same page? The divide has caught the attention of President Trump, who has seized on the gap as he pushes the Fed to lower rates by a full percentage point. It ain't gonna happen, girlfriend. He did so again last week after he called Jerome Powell a numbskull and probably called him a big piece of shit diphead moron. We've done none, Trump added. Why? Because the European Central Bank has cut rates 10 times while Powell has cut rates 0 times. Okay, you see the lady on the right? She's looking at Powell going, you dumb motherfucker. Why aren't you cutting rates? And Powell's looking at her going, bitch, I'm in control. No, for real. She and the ECB have cut bank rates 10 times. He's done 0. Either way, Jerome Powell and the Fed are meeting next week on the 18th of June. There is a 99.6% chance that he is going to pause. Yeah. So we're not getting rate cuts from JP anytime soon. So again, JP and the Fed and the ECB aren't even close to being on. They're not even in the same book. All right, let's keep learning. Oh, by the way, everything you're seeing in this video and all my other videos, they're all linked in the description below. Here's one for you. I brought up an article a couple weeks ago talking about quantum computing and the big threat that it is to BTC. Well, here's another one, but this one's a little scarier because now it says that Bitcoin must upgrade or fall victim to quantum computing in 5 years. The other video, or the other story I shared with you said, yo, you got to fix shit within 10 years to 15 years. Now they're saying you better do it in 5 years. Whoa. Q-Day, the term given to the day quantum computers are finally ready to break traditional cryptography. When this day comes, Bitcoin transactions validated and secured today, or even 10 years ago, could be vulnerable because blockchain is fully transparent. On top of this, bad actors are already collecting encrypted data in preparation for Q-Day. They're harvesting now to decrypt it later. So when this happens, is BTC done? If so, what happens to the orange man? I'm not talking about Trump, I'm talking about Saylor and his orange couches. Yeah, so dude can stack all he wants, but what happens when Q-Day happens and all of a sudden yeah, the encryption of BTC is no longer safe. Will a bunch of big companies out there dump? Most likely. Now, U.S. politicians made some suspiciously timed trades in the defense stock before the Israel-Iran conflict. That's not a shock, is it? But let's call these MFers out. Why? Because it's shady AF. As the conflict between Israel and Iran escalates, defense stocks are seeing a surge in activity. No kidding. Just days before the renewed conflict erupted in June of 2025, two lawmakers made some well-timed purchases in shares of defense contractor L3 Harris Technologies. Specifically, House Armed Services Committee member, who would have insider knowledge, Representative Gilbert Cisneros, bought between 1,000 and 15,000 worth of the stock. Also, Oklahoma Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, a frequent trader who also sits on the Senate Armed Services Committee, made a bigger investment between 15,000 and 50,000 worth of LHX shares. Oh, so now Congress is either really good at trading or they're using their inside information to make money. Which do you think it is? How about you comment down below and let me know? I think I already know the answer. They're not really good traders. I think Nancy Pelosi's husband is also a really good trader too, right everyone? No. Okay, now for the really good news for XRP. Listen to this. These are some really, really juicy good news and stats. Total of 8 companies. Yes, you heard me correctly. Total of 8 companies announced nearly 1 billion in collective XRP treasury commitments. Now again, if you want to read this in depth, because this is actually a fairly long article, I'm not going to read it word for word because I got better shit to do with my Saturday. Yeah, I'm going to play some Escape from Tarkov. For real, that's what I'm going to do. But I'm going to share with you the highlights, and if you want to read it in more depth, you're welcome to. 8 companies across various sectors, including technology, energy, pharmaceuticals, and even the mighty green stuff, yes, the cabbage, have officially announced plans to launch dedicated XRP treasury programs. Collectively, these firms are committing nearly $1 billion towards acquiring and utilizing XRP as a corporate reserve and financial instrument. Everyone, this is good news. 6 months ago, we didn't have anyone getting into XRP as a reserve or financial instrument. And now we have 8 companies with nearly $1 billion getting into it. This trend highlights a strategic shift in how businesses are beginning to leverage cryptocurrency, specifically XRP, not just as a speculative asset, but a core tool for liquidity management, cross-border payments, decentralized financial infrastructure, and a way to hedge against inflammation. Inflammation? No, not inflammation. What's the other I word I'm looking for? Sorry, I'm having a brain fart, and I'm going to leave this in because I make mistakes too. The thing not inflammation. The thing that happens when money starts getting devalued. I can't think of what the word is right now. I'm sorry. I'm just going to move on forward. Comment down below what the damn frickin' word is. Either way, Trident and Weebus lead the 9-figure commitments, but you got a bunch of other ones. Vivo Power World Logistics, Hyperscale, Worksport, and smaller firms are also signaling smaller, broadening adoption. Yeah. And it's not inflammation. I can't think of what the frickin' word is. For real, I'm having a total like brain spaz right now. It's an I word. Inflation, not inflammation. Inflation. Holy crap, Klaus. So yeah, this is really good because remember when Saylor started the whole strategy thing, right? The Bitcoin strategy thing. We saw a bunch of other players hopped on board with him, right? So now I'm thinking a bunch of other players are going to hop on board and join on the XRP Strategic Reserve train as well. And I'm going to be happy to share that news with you. So as it happens, I'm going to bring those stories up. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out. Okay, crypto markets right now. What's going on? Well, we've got a little bit more softness showing in the price. Yeah, I know it's not so fun. I get it. But here's the thing, everyone. That brings up what? It brings up buying opportunities. Now, some of you may be a little bit tired of these buying opportunities, and trust me, I totally understand. But that is how trading and that is how markets work. Think, if housing is expensive, what do players do? They rotate their money out of housing, and then maybe they buy securities. If securities sectors are really hot, what do? Maybe they jump into commodities. If commodities are hot, what do? Maybe they get into treasuries, whether they're short-term or long-term. Maybe they get into the bond markets. Either way, if something is hot, there's something else there that isn't. So make sure you have a broad array of things that you like. Make sure you have a bunch of financial reports that you look at that have you ready for this stuff. Make sure you pick the good stuff out there and be ready to shop. Now, XRP specifically, look, we're going to go to some candlesticks. We got 2 billion in volume over the last 24 hours. This is what I was talking about, okay? Earlier in the day, I said, hey, look, we saw some resistance at the 218 mark. Highs on these candlesticks, look at this, 218.01. The market is definitely telling us right now that, yo, we ain't letting you get any higher than 218.01. In fact, we've seen all these candlesticks right here, right around that 218 mark. But specifically, 218.01 was the high on this one. Now, that being said, though, this right here, two lows at 211.68. It lines up with this right here. But this is happening right now. Like, it is happening, like, literally right now as I make this video. We're on that low candlestick right now at 212.06. So right now you're seeing another downswing. The market couldn't handle the 218. You're seeing us start slide now out of the friend zone and into the buy zone. In the beginning, I share your comments. One of the comments was from Pockets and Outlaws saying, well, hey, all my buy orders failed. It was a pitiful dump. Well, if you're ready and you stay ready, you might be able to execute some of those buy orders because guess what? It appears that we're in another downswing. So be ready out there because volatility is going to be key. Jerome is not going to be cutting rates. Politicians are using insider information to make some very sneaky trades. But big companies out there are buying XRP. About $1 billion worth of commitment by 8 companies. And we know that number is going to grow. And, well, in 5 years, quantum computing may be able to break BTC encryption, and that might scare the orange man, Mr. Sailor. You know, the big lesson here is just be ready with market volatility. I don't just play in the crypto. I play in the metals. I play in other commodities. I play in securities. I love my real estate. I play in a whole bunch of different markets because if one is too hot, like for instance, okay, for me, the gold market is too hot right now. I'm not putting any money into gold. But there's other sectors out there that are getting beaten up right now, so I'll put my money into that. But I'll only put my money into the good stuff, right? And then when those sectors get hot, well, I won't put my money into there and I'll go into something else. You see what I'm saying? And I've been buying tons and tons and tons and tons of silver for how many years? So now my silver stuff is starting to go up, which is really, really cool. I've been buying oil stuff for a while. Now that the Middle East thing has been going on, all my oil stuff seems to be coming up. You see what I'm saying? Just be ready out there and be informed. That's the best advice that I can give everyone out there. Be ready, be informed, and honestly, be open to stuff. Now, in terms of XRP, hey, look, I am happy to see that 8 companies are committing nearly $1 billion to the usage of XRP. This is great because here, you're going to get more companies that are going to see it, and hopefully they see the success stories regarding that, and then they want to get into it. And maybe, just maybe, I get the pleasure then of, in the month of July, reporting to you company 9, 10, 11, and 12, right? And how awesome would that be? And then maybe when you and I are hanging out in the months of September, October, November, maybe I get to report on companies 19, 20, and 21 that are using XRP. You see what I'm saying? So there's always opportunities out there. And I think the strategic reserve and using XRP as a financial tool, I think that story is going to grow. Because I remember reporting on BTC as a strategic reserve. That was not a big story in the beginning. Sailor and Strategy and other players out there like the Bitcoin miners, they were the first ones that were doing that. And there weren't many of them that were doing it. And then that story just started blowing up, and then more and more companies started doing it. And now it's like you're always seeing new companies add to the BTCs, right, with the strategic reserves. And it's a commonplace thing. So think, which was once rare, just isolated to the BTC miners, is now something that's very common. With what's now rare with the XRP thing is going to become common. So just be ready out there, everyone, and I thought you would enjoy this good news story for the day. Jerome Powell, definitely not on the same page as the ECB. And in fact, with the flare-ups happening in the Middle East, Jerome Powell is going to pause for even longer. That's the problem. He's going to say it. When we do the live stream, and we're going to be doing a live stream regarding the FOMC meeting. When we do the live stream with Jerome Powell, I guarantee you he's going to say, well, with what's happening there, we're going to have to wait and see, and we can leave rates where they are. They're 100 basis points lower than their peak. So, yeah, he's going to leave rates higher for a while. So, don't expect rate cuts in the United States, Los Estados Unidos, anytime soon, because Jerome Powell is just doing his own thing. So, be ready, be positive, happy Saturday, and choo-choo biz nachos.